And the two teams on their way out here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs led by James Maddison, and there was a huge bear hug from him, from Son Heung-min, before the teams made their way out onto the playing surface here. Manchester City with a number of their big guns back in the team here tonight, but of course they are playing catch up in the race for the top four. And Tottenham Hotspur, as Scott was saying a few moments ago, at the moment the Europa League is their main priority. They will meet RZ from the Netherlands in the first leg of their round of 16 tie next Thursday, so 8 days away, but clearly that game is in the mind of Ange Postecoglou, with Jed Spence, Dejan Kulusevski and Son Heung-min on the bench. We heard there from Pep Guardiola, Scott. I spoke to him after the 5-1 loss at Arsenal, their previous trip to London in the Premier League. He said it's the hardest season, but is he struggling for answers?
No, I honestly think he knows the answers, and I think if he'd have realised where his future was going to be maybe this time last year, then I think they would have rebuilt again. I think it was the fact that he wasn't quite sure if he was going to be the Manchester City manager. I know for a fact he was quite close to not just the England job but the Brazil job, so he thought with 1 year left on the contract and Chiqui Begiristain, going as well, that perhaps it wasn't for him to start signing players on 4 and 5 year contracts. And then of course it started to fall off a cliff, and it started here, didn't it, in the Carabao Cup. Amazing to think that would happen when the last time that these two teams were playing here, but they have completely fallen off a cliff. He said no, I can't leave City now. He has signed a new contract. It's too late then, really, even though I didn't think there'd be that much off a cliff. It's been incredible, really, but they bought a lot of players in January and they'll go again in the summer as well, so I think he knows what to do. He's just waiting for the next window, and the important thing now, Nige, is to make sure they finish in a Champions League place.
Yeah, they were unbeaten before they came here in the EFL Cup back in the autumn. They've lost 14 of 27 games since, which for Manchester City is a huge drop-off in form. A reminder of where you can hear the Premier League action tonight across the Talksport network. Brentford against Everton and Manchester United against Ipswich are both available on the Talksport app. You can download that from your usual provider and go to the live commentary section and choose the game you would like to hear. Over on Talksport, Nottingham Forest against Arsenal is another 7:30 kickoff, and over on Talk Radio, 8:15 start for Liverpool against Newcastle, and the second half of that game will also be live on Talksport at the end of the Forest Arsenal game. So 5 big games coming up in the Premier League this evening, and the only place to enjoy them all is here on the Talksport network. And it's the start of a very busy week. Of course, it's the FA Cup coming up, starting at the weekend. And tomorrow night we have one more Premier League commentary to bring you this week. West Ham against Leicester. Scott will be alongside Sam Matterface and Hugh Wozencroft at the London Stadium. And that will be the Talksport Network's 300th commentary of the season. Premier League, Champions League, up and down the EFL. We bring you the lot on the Talksport Network, and it will be game number 300 coming up tomorrow night. Manchester City are about to get the game underway here, wearing all maroon, defending the goal away to our left. Tottenham in their familiar white shirts, blue shorts and white socks. And Omar Mamouche goes all the way back to Edison, defending the Manchester City goal away to our left. A long ball forward from him. Savinho looks to win it. He seemed to be cut down midway inside the Tottenham half, but Jared Gillett, the Australian referee in charge of this game, gives nothing. Play continues. A first touch for Haaland, back in field towards Kovacic, and now Mamouche again. And there is the opportunity for Nico Gonzalez to work it wide to Gvardiol, but it's back in field to Kasanov, and it's a really frenetic start to this game. Savinho tries to come forward on this near side, but it's won back by the Spurs captain for tonight, Maddison. Quickly forward to Spence, and now wide towards the far side, and Brennan Johnson can play the ball into the penalty area. Comes in field, he's got Tell in support, then it's laid off, and the cross is played back into the penalty area, and in the end, Odegaard with the effort, but it's cleared away. Haaland will try and bring it clear, but very quickly he's surrounded by white shirts midway inside the City half, but now it's wide towards Jeremy Doku on the far side, who will try and tease Pedro Porro. Of course, Doku had A number of successful dribbles against Liverpool on Sunday, but very little end product, and that's an issue for Manchester City. It was throughout that game, really, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Manchester City game against Liverpool, I think quite clearly they're playing against the league champions, and they have fallen off a cliff. I have said on many occasions that I think it's incredible they won 4 on the spin. Obviously never happened before in the history of top flight of English football. I think that tells you everything. So to go again in the 5th season, anyone expecting City to win this title, I genuinely think was unrealistic at the time. I just didn't see them being this bad. 14 defeats in 27 in all competitions.
Nunez playing in an unfamiliar right-back role once again. And it's won back by Maddison. Maddison tries to squirt it down the byline. Kasanov, though, will try and clear, but Maddison, like a man possessed, closed him down, really taking the responsibility given to him by the armband, and it ricochets behind for a goal kick. 2 minutes played here on Talksport 2. Spurs 0, Manchester City 0, and it's been played like a cup tie so far.
Yeah, it has. I mean, look, someone asked me, what do you reckon tonight? I said, I have no idea whatsoever, apart from the fact that there will be goals in both ends. I think both of these teams are same, perhaps on different levels, but the same way. On their day, they can beat anyone, but they're so inconsistent at the moment. You just no idea what type of City or Spurs are going to turn up.
Well, there were 4 goals at the Etihad Stadium back in November, all for Spurs. Maddison scored 2 of those. Savinho comes forward now for City, cutting infield from the right. Doku in a central area. Was he caught by Bergvall? Not according to the referee. Haaland tries to win it back, and it's all very narrow now for Manchester City as Gvardiol comes across to the right-hand side, and the Brazilian Savinho was just held up by Udogie, and it's back to Kasanov again, and you wonder if Kasanov and Diaz could be the preferred central defensive partnership going forward for Manchester City. 3 minutes played, 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, it's interesting. We'll have to wait and see. I still think it's a lot for Kasanov to come in mid-season and suddenly hit the ground running, and obviously he got off to the worst possible start in that game against Chelsea. I think he's shown character. I still think it's going to be a lot to ask for him to be the number 1.
Marmoush now has won it back from Udogie on this near side, but the ball in field is quickly cut out by Maddison and then played down the line, looking for the run of Odobert, but Kasanov will get there first. There's a quizzical look across to Darren Can, the assistant on the far side, but the flag wasn't raised.
I thought he was offside myself, and yes, it's right over the other side of the pitch, but they should be able to see that. I'm really interested. I mean, there are, you look at the bench and you're thinking, wow, there's so many game changers that can come off the bench, and I'm sure that will happen. And that's what Ange Postecoglou has been saying all along, all season, hasn't he? That once I get a bit more strength in depth and get my injuries back, then, because he wants to play at 100 miles an hour, he can't expect all the players to play like that.
Odobert now, released by Udogie down the left-hand side. Tell makes the run down the centre. Odobert now will try and take on Kasanov. Kasanov comes across to make the challenge at the expense of the game's first corner, with 4.5 minutes played on Talksport 2, 0-0.
Well, he's defended well already on 3 or 4 occasions, Kasanov, hasn't he? Nunez looking to try and get forward. We know he's not a natural right back. He's more of actually a central midfielder. But there's a little bit of space in behind for Spurs to try and see if they can get in behind Manchester City. And a couple of times they have, but Kasanov has come around and defended well.
Maddison will take this. It will be an in-swinging corner on this near side towards the near post, flicked on, and it was an impudent effort in the end from Matthias Tell, and it's gathered by Ederson, but it was something different once again from a corner kick. And of course Manchester City were caught out on Sunday.
Yeah, it was a good bit of flick. I mean, Ederson should not have been beaten from there, but at least Spurs have been on the front foot. But it's already a very open game, isn't it?
Well, I saw the game at Old Trafford, called maybe tongue-in-cheek a relegation 6-pointer earlier today. Ipswich are leading at Manchester United. Jayden Philogene with the early goal there.
Well, producer Izzy be happy about that.
I know, she was quick to just point that one out on the screen. Bergvall plays it forward now, looking for Johnson, but it's covered by Gvardiol, and Ederson will clear the ball away. But I think she's fearing they may have scored about 85 minutes too soon.
I did say to her, I think Ipswich are better away from home and United are worse at home. Certainly the Man City fans will be glad to hear that.
Well, they've won here, of course, Ipswich. Ipswich and Leicester have both enjoyed Premier League victories here. 6 home defeats for Spurs so far this season, alongside the 5 wins and the 2 losses. And Manchester City have lost 5 times on the road as well. Of course, they began with 7 wins and 2 draws before 4 successive defeats, including that 4-0 loss at home to Spurs. Although they have Haaland back in the team here tonight, and he was the match winner right at the end of the season 12 months ago, which effectively won City the title. As Savinho comes forward now, and he quickly gets it back from Nunez. Nunez makes the run in behind. It's a good run from him. Haaland with the shot, and it's straight at Vicario. He was just on the stretch. He was slightly behind him, but it's an opportunity he may believe he should have scored.
Yes, it was, and Manchester City got in behind Spurs down the left-hand side. Odegaard not going with Nunez. He's cut the ball back, and yeah, you do feel he is leaning back, Erling Haaland, that perhaps could even have taken a touch, but with it being on his right foot, not quite the same confidence. He's on his left. I fancied him to score that, and he was completely free, 8 yards out.
If you want to listen to that game at Old Trafford, you can find it on the Talksport app, as Haaland is on the move again, and Vicario does well. It was a bouncing ball into the penalty area, and Vicario was brave, diving at the feet of Haaland to gather. Now a long ball played forward, looking for Matthias Tell, but overhit and back towards Ederson again. Brentford-Everton is also available on the Talksport app, and it's goalless in the early stages at the City Ground. Forest against Arsenal, that game is available for you on Talksport, with Liverpool against Newcastle underway at Anfield, 8:15, and that will be on Talk Radio, with the second half also on Talksport as well. So we've got all the angles covered across the Talksport network tonight, as Doku looks to show his pace on the far side. He manages to barge over Porro, plays on, looking for Haaland, who was trying to sweep in the big effort, but it was cut out well by Udogie, who of course is no slouch himself, and Spurs will try and bring it forward with 8 minutes played, 0-0. Maddison looking to the right, but the ball forward was closed down. He claims it struck a hand, but nothing was given, and Nico Gonzalez will play it wide to the far side, and Doku again.
I thought Doku wasted the opportunity there. I mean, both these teams have such a high line. That ball over the top is going to be on all night for whoever's in a good position to make that pass and see who's going to get that run. But Doku, in the end, after a good play beating Porro, just gave the ball away, really.
Kovacic hacking down Maddison inside the centre circle, and it will be a free kick. Maddison making the point to Jarrod Gillett. There should have been a handball against Kovacic a few moments earlier, as the free kick has been taken back to Archie Gray, one of 7 teenagers used in the Premier League by Tottenham this season. And Manchester City's team against Liverpool on Sunday was their youngest ever average age in terms of a starting 11, just over 25, and that was a side which had Kevin De Bruyne in it at the age of 33.
Yeah, and I think that tells you everything of where Pep is going to go. And maybe not every game this season, but certainly from next season when they go again in the transfer market. He's realised it was just one season too far for these, let's be fair, Premier League legends to go 4 on the spin. Never been done before, and the history of English top-flight football was nothing short of sensational and historic. But there's no doubt about it, there's a reboot that's needed, and he knows that already.
10 minutes played. De Bruyne on the bench this evening, along with Phil Foden, who of course is not a veteran player, only 24 years of age, but really, on the evidence of how he played on Sunday and how he's been playing, he can have no complaints about not playing here tonight.
I couldn't agree more, Nigel. Honestly, when you think about how good he was last season, I mean, he was the Premier League player of the season, wasn't he? There's a massive drop-off, and yes, of course, the Euros can take it out of anyone, but for him to have, again, dropped off that much, Kevin De Bruyne injured, you're thinking, well, this is your time to step up. No, he hasn't been able to do it, and next season's a big one for him.
Bergvall now, found by Bentancur inside the centre circle for Spurs. Nearly 11 minutes played here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Talksport 2, and it's Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. A high ball over the top, looking for Maddison, who was in behind Kusanov, but It's gathered by Edison, and you're listening to this game on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. And don't forget, you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now. Search Now Sports.
They're looking for that ball over the top, that diagonal, aren't they? I mean, actually both teams are, but if you remember that Spurs did that at Portman Road, they're certainly looking for it again tonight.
Now Savinho finding Haaland, who turns and quickly releases Nico Gonzalez, and then Doku down the left. Doku with a low ball in, and Haaland will score. And it was so easy there for Erling Haaland, who is back with a goal for Manchester City. And Spurs were picked apart there, really precisely. It is a classic Pep goal, finished by Haaland. And with 12 minutes played, it is Spurs 0, Manchester City 1.
Well, too easy, far too easy. And actually, Spurs have probably been I mean, both teams have come out and played well, but Spurs, I think, have been edging it in terms of the better side. But talked about how open it is and the high lines of these two teams. There's just so much space. Haaland picks the ball up, he plays it inside. He's not even really sprinting. Doku in the left gets inside the box. He plays the pass. It must be 7 Spurs players inside the box, and yet no one's getting in front of Haaland. Destiny Udogie should be the one that either telling his centre-half to say, right, he's there behind you, or coming across. He hasn't been able to. It's a simple finish, 6 yards out, not even that. Wow, City 1-0 up.
And I think he was level, Erling Haaland. There was no significant check made by Graham Scott, the VAR, but it was a very well-timed run, and they found so much room. And Pedro Porro, a player who has not had a huge amount of football recently, was really exposed there down the right-hand side, and Bergvall, a player with little experience, didn't really give him the cover.
No, I mean, I said to you before, I'm looking forward to seeing Omar Mamouche playing as that kind of 10, but I would not like to play against either Doku or Savinho, because both are more than happy to go, even though they're inverted wingers, to go down the outside. And if you're a fullback coming up against a winger that you know is kind of one-footed but is happy to go either way, it's an absolute nightmare. In the end, he's dropped off too much, he's played it inside, and it's just the perfect striker's goal, an instinct of knowing where to be. It looks so simple when you think about how many Spurs players were in the box.
Well, Spurs have to chase this game. Once again, of course, they are missing Mickey van der Ven at the moment. They've missed him for a long time this season. And Ange Postecoglou standing there, arms folded. That victory here against Manchester United in what was in all truth a fairly poor game was only their second clean sheet in 28 games, and they've not had one since.
No, but I get the feeling it's not going to be the only goal tonight.
No. It's such an open game. Here is Danso up against his former clubmate from Lens. Abdulkadir Kusanov at the other end. Now Gray, who has been shuffled around into 4 different positions so far this season, in his debut season at the highest level. Still only 18 years of age, but he's got plenty of miles on the clock already, having played virtually every game for Leeds last season. Now Bergvall, wide to Porro. Johnson makes the run in behind, but it's a poor ball from Porro. Had so much green grass in behind there, but couldn't pick out the run of Johnson. Yeah, I mean, I talked about the high line, so you're always tempted to try and play the ball over the top, but it was a straight ball. Has to be more on the diagonal, because if you overhit it, it's going to go straight through to the goalkeeper, which is what happened there. West Ham against Leicester is our commentary game over on Talksport tomorrow night, as Savinho comes forward now. And then we're into the FA Cup on Friday. Villa against Cardiff is a big game from Villa Park. And that's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Friday, as Spurs have everybody back defending here, midway inside their own half. Kusanov finding Savinho. And Nunez will go all the way back to Ruben Diaz. And here is Edison once again. Both these goalkeepers with only 4 clean sheets so far this season. Haaland has now been robbed by Maddison. Bergvall. Oh, almost giving the ball away to Haaland, and he has done, but then he recovers on the ground to win it back, and He was slightly fortunate there, but he was tenacious.
Yeah, James Maddison helped him out. He was close by and made sure that Haaland didn't run away with it. And then in the end, Bergvall got up and was able to get the ball back as well. You cannot afford to lose the ball there.
That goal from Haaland, his 20th of the season in the Premier League, 28 in total.
He's having a bad season, isn't he?
Yeah, he's fallen off a cliff like everything else. High ball wide to this near side and Gray, and it's a good ball to pick out Odobert. He'll try and take on Nunez. Nunez showing him the outside. Odobert takes that route. Nunez makes the challenge. He contests the decision to give Spurs a corner on this near side, the left.
Yeah, good defending. Not a fullback, so therefore he won't want that. A winger coming at him and then getting inside the box as well. But he watches the ball, not the man, not the step over. Odobert just claiming that it came off Nunez's arm. It didn't. Good defending, but still an opportunity for Spurs to score with this set piece.
And Nunez, another player who's played in 4 different positions for Manchester City during the current campaign, filling in with Rico Lewis on the bench at the start here this evening. Maddison with the corner in towards the 6-yard area, headed away. Savinho with the volley over the shoulder towards this near side, and it will be a throw-in for Tottenham. If you've just joined us, Dejan Kulusevski, Jed Spence and Son Heung-min all left out by Ange Postecoglou. Erling Haaland and Ruben Diaz back in the City team, and it's Haaland who has scored the opening goal. The only other goal in the Premier League so far, Ipswich Town leading at Manchester United by 1-0. And they'll also be underway shortly at Wembley in the UEFA Women's Nations League, where England are playing Spain, a repeat of the World Cup final tonight. Now Haaland, wide to Doku on the left, but well seen by Porro, but Porro just overruns it. This time Johnson comes back to help him out, and Gray will play it wide towards a Doggy, and it's all the way back to Vicario. Gray again. And they give him so much responsibility, and he is a really good footballer, always has his head up. Bergvall. Now Johnson looking for that reverse ball back towards Bergvall, had stopped running, and it was straight out of play. And Scott Minto, Spurs have rather lost their way here. And we welcome listeners from Talk Radio, where Manchester City lead at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by 1-0. Erling Haaland scoring after 12 minutes. A well-made goal down the left. Haaland with a side foot finish inside the 6-yard area. And Scott Minto, Spurs started well, plenty of intensity, but now the game has dropped off and they've dropped with it.
They have, absolutely. You've got two teams kind of going at it, both playing a high line. You're right, Spurs started well, but after the initial sort of first 5 or so minutes, it's been City who have certainly created the most chances. Spurs trying to attack as much as possible, but they're not really tested Ederson so far. And Erling Haaland just found himself with the goal, just in so much space, 5 yards out, right in front of goal, no one picking him up. I mean, it's really poor defending, good play from Haaland, and it just goes to show the importance that he's back in the City side.
And Spurs playing that high line within 5 or 6 yards of the halfway line here, as City look to come forward with Kasanov on this near side, all the way back towards Diaz. And we have played nearly 20 minutes here. Commentary continuing on Talksport 2. Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. Doku coming forward now at pace into the penalty area, beyond Porro, beyond Bergvall. It's still the shot driven in from Doku, and it's a good save by Vicario. Got down well in the end. The pace of the shot wasn't huge, but he still had to make the save.
Absolutely, just fantastic wing play from Doku. Again, deciding to come inside. He's shaped to shoot, he's come inside again, shaped to shoot again, come inside again, and then he's had the shot 20 yards out. That's a really good save from Vicario. He's pinged it well, going right in the corner, the sort of inside side netting. Vicario has to dive to his right to make the save to stop it being 2-0.
Son Heung-min is out warming up already with 20 minutes played. Not an especially cold evening after a very wet morning across the southeast, but it's dry and clear now.
Do you know what, it was so wet I didn't take the dogs for a walk.
Here is Doku coming forward now. Haaland waits in the centre, and a good challenge from Bentancur coming back to Rob Porro. I did, and it was a mistake. Now Bergvall. Forward towards the halfway line and Tell, but Tell was rather lightweight in the challenge there, although the referee has come back and given the free kick for the challenge by Diaz.
Yeah, look, I mean, again, we go back to the team selection of Ange, and at first glance, you're sort of thinking, I wonder why he's rested those players. You could argue that Destiny Udogie can maybe get 60 minutes. Jed Spence, I think, has been sensational and justifies a place in the side, whether it's left or right back. But it's going forward where, Odegaard and at the moment Brennan Johnson, who's a good player and of course scored 2 goals against Ipswich, but neither of them have got in the game, and I think that's the problem at the moment. City's players, and wide players in particular, are looking really dangerous and creating chances, whereas Spurs players quite simply aren't.
Danso, square towards Gray. Bergvall, clever layoff from him to try and release Porro, and now Bergvall again, spinning away from a challenge but not taking the ball with him, but once again almost on the ground he manages to hack the ball forward, but then a free kick's been given for the challenge by Tell on Diaz, and City will have a free kick midway inside their own half, and they are pretty much in control here at the moment.
Yes, they are. They really are. I mean, it's not so much in terms of possession. Spurs are actually just edging it, but just get the feeling even when Spurs have the ball, City look comfortable, they look well set up, and we haven't said that many times over the last few months. And again, I go back to the changes and the wide players not getting involved, whereas City, when they do attack, they look really, really dangerous.
Well, in their previous away game, which was also in North London, City lost 5-1 at Arsenal. Of course, Erling Haaland scored that day before things really unravelled in the second half. But this is often where they come good at this stage of the season. Usually it's chasing somebody down or moving further ahead of the pack at the head of the Premier League, but at the moment it's a battle to finish in the top 4, maybe top 5, to ensure Champions League football next season. Sam Morsey with an own goal has equalised for Manchester United against Ipswich. Commentary on that game on the Talksport app. Still goalless at the City Ground between Forest and Arsenal, and at the G-Tech between Brentford and Everton. Liverpool against Newcastle underway at 8:15. Commentary starts on Talk Radio, and you can hear the second half as well on Talksport as Haaland turns and plays in Marmoush down the centre. A good ball but covered well by Udogie, and it's guided back to Vicario. Now Gray had a spot of bother there with Nico Gonzalez closing him down, but Spurs managed to clear, but there's no real conviction in their playing out at the moment.
No, there isn't. I mean, Archie Gray did really well, actually, showing composure. It's not quite pantomime season anymore, but the whole crowd was shouting, he's behind you, and yet he did a little bit of trick and played it out wide. And Pedro Porro is looking for options, and there are no options. And City, to be fair to them, are looking like the City of old. Again, we said about, don't know which City will turn up. It's the good one tonight.
Bergvall lobs it wide to the far side. Johnson unable to get there before Gvardiol, who just stoops to head the ball out of play, and it will be a throw-in for Spurs on the far side, in towards Benton Court. And now Porro back to Gray on the halfway line. Danso and Udogie and Odegaard playing it back in field to Danso. It was a dangerous ball, and Danso had to lunge in before Haaland there to play it forward. It's almost given away by Kusanov on this near side, but it ricochets off Odegaard out of play, and it will be a throw-in to Manchester City, leading by a goal to nil with 25 minutes played.
I actually thought that was a foul on Odegaard, but it's not given. It just goes to show how much in control, even if they haven't got the ball, that Manchester City are. Nunes getting really tight, winning the ball back, and almost another dangerous counter-attack from City.
And those 3 victories for Spurs came after a run of 1 point in 7 games and only 1 win in 11. They were 6th after that 4-0 success at the Etihad, and then they dropped to 15th and crashed out of both of the cups as well. But they are still in Europe, and that really is the one thing which is holding their season together at the moment.
I think both Spurs and Manchester United are in a similar position. United obviously got the FA Cup as well, but poor seasons, but can end with glory.
Odegaard coming forward now. Square to Tell. 25 yards out, closed down by Kovacic, but Bentancur will gather for Spurs. Wide towards Porro, back towards Bentancur again. Spurs crying out for some width. And in the end, they go back to Gray in the centre circle. Danso heading towards the right-hand side. Bentancur. Johnson makes the run into the penalty area, but it's claimed by Edison.
Yeah, that was unlucky. Really unlucky. Again, passing. Good play from Danso with a little turn. Played it into the Bentancur. And again, I talked about the straight pass. Wasn't quite enough of a diagonal on it. And in the end, unless it's inch perfect, then it was always going to run onto Edison.
Haaland now gathers for Manchester City. A decisive ball from him, infield to Nico Gonzalez, and now Doku again, early into the penalty area, great chance for Savinho, should have made it 2-0. He sweeps it high over the top from 8 yards. And once again, Spurs were opened up there way too easily.
It's far too easy. You know, they've got the ball in their own half, Manchester City, and suddenly 2 passes, and Doku's got so much space. Haaland's trying to run in. And Destiny Udogi's nowhere near Savinho, nowhere near him. And the ball, yes, it's fizzed in and it bounces just before, but he's on his left foot. He doesn't get any proper connection on it, and all he needs to do is keep it on target, and Vicario's got no chance.
Matthijs de Ligt has put Manchester United 2-1 up against Ipswich on the Talksport app. 0-0 still between Brentford and Everton, and Nottingham Forest and Arsenal, which is on Talksport. And also in the Virtu Trophy, the semi-final tonight, it is currently goalless after half an hour between Wrexham and Peterborough for the right to meet Birmingham in the final in the middle of April at Wembley. There'll be a big crowd for that, whoever wins tonight. Savinho, Udogi again looking to win it back, but now Kovacic, and there's so much room for Manchester City on the left, and they found Doku again, and Porro is backpedaling, looking in field, looking for support. Bentancur eventually comes across, but at the moment Manchester City are producing the sort of performance that they were victims of against Liverpool on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We haven't said that for years and years, that there's no consistency at the moment in this Manchester City side. We're going to see a good one, a bad one, and it's very much a good one. Perhaps it tells us as much about Spurs as it does about City, but that really was a big miss from Savinho.
Now Marmoush chasing on this near side. Udogi will try and guide the ball out of play. In the end, there was a rather untidy challenge on Marmoush, and it's gathered by Savinho, who can break into the penalty area. Laid back now to Nico Gonzalez. He's quickly closed down. Kovacic, though, finding Doku in towards Haaland again. It's blocked by the legs of Vicario. It's still loose inside the penalty area, and in the end, Tottenham will get the ball away, but Haaland should have scored.
My goodness me, it was almost it was a similar position to where he scored. And yeah, could possibly have been a foul on Destiny Udogi, but play, the referee's not blown the whistle. Play on, play to the whistle. 3 or 4 passes, and suddenly Haaland's found himself 6 yards out again.
Doku again, looking to attack. The cross this time is deflected, almost drops for Marmoush. Odebear is back, anywhere will do, and it's hoofed away on the far side. Out of play for a throw-in. You're listening to Spurs against Manchester City on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, they've got a van. Could be 4-0.
Easily. I'm just looking at pictures of Pep Guardiola, and he can't believe how Erling Haaland, arguably the world's greatest finisher, has not finished that one off. Doesn't connect well. Vicario is diving one way, and he just sticks his leg out. Could perhaps even have taken a touch, but what an opportunity.
Now a break again for Nunez on this near side. Rolls about 4 times as he's challenged by Bentancur, and Bentancur receives the yellow card for that challenge, and it will be a free kick for Manchester City.
Well, they're getting overrun completely, Spurs, at the moment. Talked about how the wide players of Spurs are not involved, whereas the City wide players are, but Matthijs Tel's not holding the ball up. Maddison and Bergvall and Bentancur are losing the midfield battle at the moment. And I think it's one of those where half an hour in, Spurs need to try and get to half-time and keep it the same scoreline. And we know that Ange likes to make substitutions and wants to have those options on the bench. He certainly has that. How much does he actually want to win this game versus how much is he worried there's possible injuries for next week?
A 6th yellow card this season in the Premier League for Rodrigo Bentancur. And Ben Davies, who has been playing recently, was left out to manage his minutes against Ipswich on Saturday. He's not in the squad here today, and maybe they're just missing somebody of that experience just to organise things and tell people where to go. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely, quite possibly. The art of communication has gone, Nigel, not just in football but in society. But let's not be too philosophic.
Easy for you to say. Now Savinho coming forward now, breaking into the penalty area. He fires in the shot, which is blocked by Danso, but here is Nunez now. So much room for him. He's not being closed down. The cross high to the far post is headed away by Porro. Now Doku with the cross in from the left, fisted away by an airborne Vicario, who at times here must be feeling he's playing Manchester City on his own.
Well, they're getting no protection, the back four. You know, I feel sorry for not just the goalkeeper, but the back four as well. You know, the midfield are not getting anywhere near Manchester City, and the full-backs are getting into situations where the wingers have got not just time, but space to run at them. This high line is not helping for one. And I think the players, certainly going forward, are not being good enough at the moment for Tottenham Hotspur.
Currently Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. For the latest odds, head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage. Right now, you can get Spurs to win at 13-2, Manchester City 11-4 on, the draw 4-1. All thanks to William Hill, 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Well, should that have been a yellow card for that foul by Danso on Marmouche? Certainly he was pulled down. Now what, 30 yards out? If you had a Kevin De Bruyne out there, would definitely have a strike. Let's see who fancies this one.
Well, they've got so many contenders here, Manchester City, to hit this. Ruben Diaz is currently deep in conversation with Jeremy Doku. Marmouche could hit this with the right foot. Savinho maybe with the left.
I think Marmouche is going to take it.
Well, Spurs here, a goal down, and they are slightly fortunate to be still in the contest. It's a combination of good goalkeeping and wayward finishing at the moment. A free kick here in a good area for Manchester City, and it's Marmouche who curls it, and I think Bergvall in the wall. Maybe Danso rose to block the ball, and it will be a throw-in on this near side. Wrexham lead by a 1-0 in the Virtu Trophy semi-final. Max Clough has got the opening goal there. In fact, Mo Farah's got it, assisted by Max Clough. So Peterborough the holders, a goal down at the racecourse at the moment, and it could be a Birmingham-Wrexham final, which is the final all of America wants.
I was going to say, because it definitely be a glamour one. Glamour game here, but there's no doubt about it. City is completely bossing it, both with and without the ball. Erling Haaland will be kicking himself. He's not made it 2-0. You just get the feeling the chances will come. The disappointing thing is we both thought, you know, both defences are very vulnerable, but this moment in time, it's City who look very strong defensively, and Spurs most definitely not.
Danso. Spurs at the moment heading for a 7th home defeat this season. A crossfield ball for Maddison strikes Jarrah Gillett, the referee, who is quick to apologise, so Spurs will get the drop ball. Now Bergvall. And here is Danso, 10 minutes to play in the first half here. Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. Still goalless at the G-Tech. Manchester United leading Ipswich by 2-1, and also no goals at the City ground over on Talksport, as Kusanov does well to head the ball away on the edge of the City penalty area. Danso on the halfway line, nods it forward, but now Marmouche, and it's cut out by Udogie, and here is Odegaard. Udogie points where he wants the ball ahead of him. He's been clipped by Nunez, and it will be a free kick here for Tottenham in a decent area. And I think Nunez will be fortunate if he escapes a yellow card.
Well, I think Udogie's just come across him, and that's what he's trying to say. Look, we're both running for the ball. Yes, it's a foul, but he's got in front of me. And my legs have clipped his. I must admit, I don't think it was intentional, although I think I'm very much in the minority in this stadium.
And I'm not sure Udogie would have got the ball anyway, because there was a City defender coming across. But it's a free kick here. Maddison and Audebert are over it. Udogie just sorting out his boots on the halfway line. And the home crowd find their voices once again here. 8 minutes to play in the first half. Manchester City leading by a goal to nil. Maddison kills it in, headed away by Haaland. Audebert with a heavy first touch on the edge of the penalty area, but it's won back well by Bentancur. Bentancur claims he was body checked by Kovacic, and Jarrod Gillett agrees that it's a free kick here. Much better than a corner for Tottenham on this near side, level with the edge of the penalty area.
Yeah, and this is just much better from Tottenham. That's what we need to do. You need to get the crowd going. You're playing at home. They've been quiet, and they're quiet for a reason. The team's been outplayed. So at least Bentancur's trying to get on the ball, try to do something. Just what we saw at Udogie just a few minutes ago as well. And do you know what? As bad as Spurs have been, one great ball in, flick, suddenly they're level. And again, the whole psychology of the game just completely changes.
Maddison will whip this ball in. Everybody back defending here for Manchester City. Maddison with pace high into the penalty area. Ederson comes to punch the ball off the head of Danso, who was flying towards the City goal. Now Udogie down the left-hand side. Infield to Bergvall. And now Maddison. Udogie all the way back to Bentancur, but Spurs here showing better signs from the home team's point of view. As Johnson, who we've barely seen going forward, tries to thread it down the line, but it's cut out by Gvardiol, and it will be a throw-in. And quickly, it's moved by Bentancur wide to this near side, and the blonde-haired teenager Bergvall. Audebert now. Again, he's given room to come in field by Savinho. Bergvall. Back to Danso. And City here are defending deep in numbers. Now they spring out. Haaland up to the halfway line, and there is pressure on Bergvall, who hits the back pass all the way to Vicario, who does well to control on the chest.
Do you know what, Nigel? I'm all for keeping the ball and having that technical ability and trying to move a team around, but when you're there in the final thirds and 10 seconds later, 15 seconds later, you're passing the ball back to your goalkeeper, sometimes just have a look up and whip it round the Man City defence. They're still playing high. The ball's in if there's a good running behind. Just make someone do it.
Wrexham 2, Peterborough 0 in the Virtu Trophy semi-final. George Dobson with the second. So Peterborough's grip on the trophy has been further loosened as Brennan Johnson chases another hopeful ball forward from Gray on this near side, and it's gathered by Ederson.
Again, it's too straight. You know, Pedro Porro, the space in behind, but it has to be inch perfect, because it's not a diagonal ball that he can put it into a space, and if he overhits it, he's used a 4-iron there instead of a sandwich.
Now Marmoush has been fouled by Udogie, and it will be a free kick for Manchester City. 5 minutes to play in the first half here on Talksport 2. Coming up at half-time, we'll be looking ahead to tomorrow's game in the Premier League. West Ham against Leicester. We'll be hearing from both Graham Potter and Ruud van Nistelrooy. And looking ahead to a big night for Cardiff City on Friday in the FA Cup in the 5th round when they go to Aston Villa. And we've also got a big game on Talksport 2 from the Championship on Friday. Sheffield Wednesday against Sunderland, as Bentancur comes forward now. Manchester City in action Saturday night, and you can hear their game against Plymouth on Talksport as Doku comes forward now on the left-hand side. Porro is watchful. And we thought there could be some real fireworks tonight, but Spurs have been something of a damp squib so far. Nunez, wide to Savinho. Udogie, again getting help this time from Odobert. But the 1-2 has worked between Savinho and Nunez. Nunez, though, just checking back when he had the opportunity to play the cross in. It's back to Kovacic, and the space now for Savinho on towards Nunez. Cleverly done, and in the end, the cross is closed down by Bentancur. It will be a corner.
Well, he played or tried to play the ball in the end, but you're absolutely spot on. Just a couple of seconds earlier, had the opportunity to do it and then came back out again. I'll tell you what, if he's able to make those runs, Odebert's not going with him. And the Doggie's going to have 2-on-1 at times. We've seen it a couple of times now where the ball's played almost inside, that inside lapping run from the fullback. That's on all the time.
Marmoush will take the corner on this near side, the Manchester City right. 3 minutes to play in the first half. City a goal up. Marmoush with the outswinger. Haaland shaping for the header, but nodded away by Dancer. Doku back to the last man, Nunez. Clipped high and wide to the far side, and Ruben Diaz unable to get that. There did seem to be a reluctance for Manchester City to cross the ball against Liverpool on Sunday, but we are seeing more of that here tonight.
Yes, and we're also seeing a reluctance of Spurs trying to cross here tonight. And I just think, look, you don't just put it in without knowing who's there, you know, but have a little look up, and just because they're playing such a high line, there is that opportunity to put in an early cross, sometimes without even looking, almost just turning and whipping it in, and see if a Brennan Johnson can get in on the end of it. I do think the team selection's not helped, and won't be surprised with this really. The front three, certainly not first choice.
Played wide now by Udogie towards Odobert. There is space down the left. Udogie makes the run into the penalty area. Odobert comes square. Now Bergvall 20 yards out, finding Johnson on the right. Johnson with a low ball in, which is blocked by Gvardiol. And it will be a throw-in to Tottenham, level with the edge of the City penalty area. Taken quickly by Porro. Back to Maddison. Bentancur now takes over. Maddison again. They work the ball neatly between the pair of them. Gray finding Danso. And the option on this near side is Odobert once again. 90 seconds to play in the first half. Maddison. Good disguise on the pass to find Bentancur 20 yards out. Flicked in field by Tell, who we barely mentioned. And it breaks down once again. But Porro claims he was being held back there by Jeremy Doku. And Jarrod Gillett agrees, and it will be a free kick for Tottenham midway inside the Spurs half.
Well, just as well for Spurs and Pedro Porro that it was. And it was, because Doku, he could easily have sprinted 50-60 yards, and then that would have been an interesting counter-attack. Now Spurs have a chance just before half-time, and they don't deserve it, to whip the ball in again with that high line, even from a set-piece delivery. Can he put it in with quality and pace, and Spurs somehow go in at half-time level?
Free kick wide on the far side. Porro's delivery. Danso with a towering header, tipped over the top by Ederson. Well, Danso headed that from nearly the edge of the box. There was plenty of loop on it, but in the end Ederson had to deal with it.
Yeah, it was a decent ball in without it being a brilliant one, and you're right, he's almost had to stop and wind his neck. He's 17 yards out, so he's looped the header. I mean, look, it looks better. I mean, Ederson would be saying to the photographer, did he get that one? It was one he definitely should be saving.
Oh, the short corner has been given away cheaply by Maddison. We're into a single minute of added time at the end of the first half, and it's quickly played forward now on the breakaway for Nunez, and he had Haaland waiting inside the penalty area with Marmoush. It's gathered now by Marmoush at the far post, and Marmoush now can attack the penalty area, whips in the cross again, headed away by Porro. Manchester United still lead Ipswich 2-1, but their new signing Dorgu has been sent off just before half-time. So Ruben Amorim's team down to 10 men, but leading 2-1. No goals at Brentford against Everton or Nottingham Forest against Arsenal. And they're just underway at Anfield. Commentary on Talk Radio, where Liverpool meet Newcastle, and it's also goalless at Wembley in the UEFA Women's Nations League between England and Spain. But that is half-time, and you can hear one or two grumbles from the home supporters, because as Ange Postecoglou stalks down the tunnel, Erling Haaland got the early goal, and there should have been more for Manchester City.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, should have been more for Erling Haaland. 6 yards out, 5 yards out, he scores. Another 5 yards out, and he doesn't score. Hits it straight at Vicario. And I think just on half-time, Nigel, with that counter-attack, which came from a really poor Spurs corner. You know, you've got seconds left. Just stick it in the box and see what happens. Trying to be clever. Counter-attack from City. And Nunez just overplays it. There was both Haaland and Marmoush just waiting at the far post. Because he's overplayed it, they missed out on the opportunity to make it 2-0.
Big crowd here, of course, for every Premier League game. At what point, or should Ange Postecoglou bring on the likes of Kulusevski and Son and try and change the course of the game?
Yeah. I genuinely think that he's thinking, because of what happened with his team selection in the first place, I don't really want them on the pitch. So it depends on how much he wants to win this game. And that sounds silly, because he obviously doesn't want to lose any game. But what he doesn't want to do, for the sake of getting a point against Manchester City and, you know, climbing up the odd place, still be in the bottom half of the table, is someone getting injured. I've talked about it all season about Ange Postecoglou, and he certainly has as well, with the injuries that they've had. I don't think he'd be able to sleep at night until, well, next week, if one of these players did come off the bench and then got injured. So it will be interesting to see, because there's no doubt about it, he's got that game next Thursday in the back of his mind as a free weekend. How much do you want to get something out of this game? Let's see.
And with Diaz at the back and Haaland in the attack, is there a better balance to the way that Manchester City are playing?
I think there's a better balance without the whole of Manchester City. I really do. I think they're defending much better as a team, which again I think says more or just as much about Spurs attacking that it does about City defending. But, you know, Marmoush is looking quite dangerous. Doku and Savinho at both sides are looking really dangerous. Nico Gonzalez and Kovacic are kind of running the show at the moment, and Bentancur, Maddison and Bergvall. I'm not really seeing anything of Bergvall. Maddison is dipping in and out of the game, and Bentancur's the one trying to hold it all together, and he's being passed around. So I just think it's not just the fact that Diaz and Erling Haaland have come back in. I think this is a very good City performance against a not so good Spurs side.
Drama at Old Trafford late in the first half. A second goal from Jadon Philogene. It is Manchester United 2, Ipswich 2. Patrick Dorgu, of course, was sent off just before half-time. Philogene with the opening goal, and then an own goal from Sam Morsey, and Matthias de Ligt had given United the lead, but it's 2-2 heading into half-time with United down to 10 men. They're into 6 minutes of added time at the G-Tech, where it's still Brentford 0, Everton 0. They're into added time as well at Old Trafford, and it's half-time at the City Ground, where Nottingham Forest and Arsenal are level at 0-0, and Johan Wissa has just scored for Brentford, so they lead Everton by a goal to 0, and it's 0-0 between Liverpool and Newcastle. You can hear commentary on that game over on Talk Radio. The second half will also be on Talksport. But here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Manchester City, the dominant team so far. They lead Tottenham Hotspur by a goal to 0. This is Premier League Live on Talksport 2.
Game day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream more Sky Sports football than ever before. Available with no contract on now. 18 plus, stream via internet, terms apply.
The season is shaping up, and whether they're going for glory or going down, it's all to play for. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out Goals. With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals. And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League 2, it has to be Goals! Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
Want a day off deciding what to eat? Sit back, relax, and let us do the thinking for you. And the cooking, and the cleaning. From salmon fillet Mondays to fish and chips Fridays. IKEA family members can try a different £3 dish of the day every weekday in store. IKEA, the wonderful everyday. T's and C's and exclusions apply. Find out more at ikea.co.uk.
At Screwfix, we've locked the prices on everyday fan essentials. Like WD-40 at £6.98, a 100-pack of Easy Fix wall plugs at 94 pence, and a 200-pack of Gold Screw multi-purpose screws at £2.69. We've got your back with prices you can rely on the products you use the most. In stock and ready to go, saving you the hassle of shopping around. Order on the app and collect in-store today. Prices valid until at least 6th of April. Visit screwfix.com for T's and C's. Delivery charges and restrictions apply.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Sipping a morning coffee out on the terrace. Good morning, Mr. Squirrel.
Morning.
The kids building a treehouse in the garden.
I'm living my perfect childhood.
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
The new £5 meal deal from McDonald's. Get a cheeseburger or mayo chicken, medium fries, 4 McNuggets and a medium soft drink for guess what? That's right, £5. Yeah! It's not called the £5 meal deal for nothing. From 11 a.m. Not available on delivery. Carbonated soft drink upgrade fees apply. Participating restaurants subject to availability.
You don't just check in to a village hotel. You work out. You jump in. You play on. You tuck in. And drink up. Village Hotels. 33 locations with everything under one roof. A huge gym with pool and great membership opportunities. And a buzzing pub and grill with delicious food, ice-cold beers and live sport. Check out villagehotels.com and work out, stay, meet and play.
Game day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van.
Yeehaw! Settle up this weekend for a magnificent 7 games of FA Cup football, kicking off like a randy mule from high noon this Saturday. Talksport's Brokeback Broadcasting bandwagon careers into town with root and tune total coverage of 7 massive cup ties across the weekend, featuring Crystal Palace vs. Millwall, Bournemouth vs. Wolves, Man City vs. Plymouth, and more. We're roping in and rounding up a magnificent 7 games of FA Cup football this weekend on Talksport Rodeo. Or should I say, radio. Yeehaw!
Hard-hitting football coverage. Thursday night, the Premier League live on Talksport.
West Ham versus Leicester City.
Oh, it's in! Preemptive build-up as the bell strikes 7. Main event from 8 p.m.
What a fabulous result.
Thursday night on Talksport. Great work! Techno, full flavour football. Get all the goals on your radio.
Have we got something special for you?
Setting the gold standard of out-and-out, fully combustible football commentary. Game night on Talksport 2.
Releases Nico Gonzalez and then Doku down the left. Doku with a low ball in and Haaland will score. And it was so easy there for Erling Haaland, who is back with a goal for Manchester City. And Spurs were picked apart there really precisely. It is a classic Pep goal, finished by Haaland.
It's just the perfect striker's goal.
Doku again, early into the penalty area. Great chance for Savinho, should have made it 2-0. He sweeps it high over the top from 8 yards. And once again, Spurs were opened up there way too easily.
It's far too easy. Doku's got so much space.
Kovacic, though, finding Doku in towards Haaland again. It's blocked by the legs of Vicario. Tottenham will get the ball away, but Haaland should have scored.
My goodness me, it was almost a similar position to where he scored.
Porro's delivery. Danso with a towering header, tipped over the top by Ederson. So half-time here, thanks to the goal from Erling Haaland. It is Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. Elsewhere in the Premier League, Johan Visser deep into first half added time, giving Brentford the lead at home to Everton. All the drama at Old Trafford, 2-2 at half-time against Ipswich. Jadon Philogene with the opening goal of the game. Sam Morsey with an own goal, and Matthias de Ligt gave United the lead. Then, 2 minutes before half-time, Patrick Dorgu was sent off in only his 3rd Premier League appearance for Manchester United. And then, close on half-time, Jadon Philogene with a cross into the penalty area, evaded everybody and bounced in. And it's a goal which Ipswich will cherish. It's made it 2-2 at half-time. Nottingham Forest 0, Arsenal 0 is also the latest score. You can hear commentary on that game in the second half over on Talksport. And of course, here it is 1-0 to Manchester City. And Liverpool have just taken the lead at Anfield against Newcastle. Dominic Szoboszlai scored that goal against Manchester City at the weekend, and he has scored again. So Liverpool at the moment could be extending their lead over Arsenal. The Gunners are drawing and Liverpool are winning. In the UEFA Women's Nations League, goalless at Wembley at the moment, approaching the half hour between England and Spain. And in the Virtu Trophy semi-finals, half-time at the racecourse, Wrexham leading Peterborough by 2-0 on course for a final coming up against Birmingham City in the middle of April. The live Premier League action continues tomorrow evening on the Talksport network, and following their hard-fought weekend win at the Emirates, West Ham welcome relegation-threatened Leicester City to the London Stadium. Shortly, you'll hear from the Foxes' boss, Ruud van Nistelrooy. But first, here's the Hammers manager, Graham Potter, who insists home form has to be better.
Every team wants to do well at home in front of their own supporters. As we can see, it's not that straightforward in the Premier League generally, but nevertheless for us, this is what we're concerned with. We want to do better in front of our own supporters. We want to play better. I think it's also a process. As I said, to be able to get the results you want, you need to perform in a way that you can recognise and have some consistency around performance. And for different reasons, we haven't been able to get that. It hasn't been from the want of trying. We're just still finding out a lot of things. But obviously, the game on Thursday is an opportunity for us to correct that. We're looking to win the game. We're looking to play well, because again, it helps you connect with your supporters and helps you bring that togetherness, which is really important for a football club.
It's going to be difficult. We know that every game we're playing is difficult. Everything needs to be right for us to get results. We've noticed how hard it is to get results in the Premier League. We feel like we can do it. There were some performances that deserved more, and there were some very poor performances where we didn't deserve any more. You know, we can only keep working, keep believing, and start again.
And that game coming up live on Talksport tomorrow. Scott will be alongside Sam Matterface and Hugh Woozencroft at the London Stadium. It is an 8 o'clock kickoff. The focus then shifts to the fifth round of the FA Cup, and we'll keep you right across that. 7 live commentaries coming up over the course of the weekend. It gets underway on Friday night as Championship side Cardiff City head to the West Midlands to face Aston Villa. You can hear that game live on Talksport. And ahead of the game, the Cardiff boss Omar Reza has been speaking with our very own Lawrence Mora.
As a rookie manager, a first managerial job, what's it going to be like walking out there at Aston Villa, that crowd, the FA Cup?
Yeah, you know, I've always said the FA Cup's really important. We're in the fifth round against Aston Villa in the Premier League. I'll be going up against Emery, so that's nice. You know, he's one of the best in the league at the moment, if not in Europe. And the boys have got their work cut out. We're playing against a very good side, you know, individuals and a team. And yeah, we'll look forward to it. But we all know it's not.
Proud moment for you. Proud moment to be.
It's not the most. You know, we've got our. We're looking towards the league, and the cup is important, but we have to be honest with ourselves as well. And we'll go out there, we'll give a good account of ourselves, because we know the fans are excited about it. And yeah, for myself, you know, proud moment. You know, it's very nice, and just carry on. You know.
Omar Reza looking ahead to Villa against Cardiff in the FA Cup fifth round on Friday. Busy day coming up on Saturday. Crystal Palace against Millwall gets us underway on Talksport at 12:15. And there'll be commentary from Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto, who was a former Charlton player, will be smuggled in under a blanket to Selhurst Park.
You're not wrong.
Also coming up, 3 o'clock, Bournemouth against Wolves with Ian Danter and Perry Groves. And then Manchester City back in action against Plymouth, 5:45, with Joe Shannon and Dean Ashton. Sunday lunchtime, 1:45, Newcastle against Brighton with Adam Bridge and Mickey Gray. And then Manchester United against Fulham coming up at 4:30 with Jim and Andy Townsend. And then on Monday, we'll have already known the quarter-final draw by now. Nottingham Forest will meet Ipswich at the City Ground with Sam and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Tottenham are out first for the second half. There don't appear to be any changes made for now. Manchester City now rejoin us once again. And Scott Minto, what do you feel Postecoglou will have been saying? Because there was just a lack of general intensity.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intention from the very start. I think Spurs in the first 5 or so minutes were the better side, but once it kind of calmed down a little bit, City got into their stride. They looked more than comfortable without the ball and really dangerous with it. Again, we go back to team selection night, so I don't think Ange's going to be sort of overly critical with the players that he's picked, because he knows, with the greatest of respect, this is not his full first team. There's still enough first team players out there to be doing a little bit better, but it's amazing really. City have dominated that first half really, and yet they're only 1 goal ahead.
And Spurs about to get the second half underway here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A reminder of their team: Vicario in goal, Porro, Gray, Danso and Udogie, Bergvall, Bentancur and Maddison, Johnson, Tell and Odobert. Manchester City, Edison in goal, Nunez, Kusanov, Diaz and Gvardiol, Kovacic and Gonzalez, Savio, Marmoush, Doku and the goal scorer Haaland. Haaland scored twice here last season to effectively wrap up the title for Manchester City. Less lofty ambitions during the current campaign, but City came into this match week at the head of a group of 6 teams covered by 5 points, so there is always work to do in that sort of situation, and at the moment they are doing it. Jess Parker's given England the lead against Spain at Wembley in the Women's Nations League. Of course, they drew 1-1 away to Portugal on Friday. 2 minutes played in the second half here, and Tottenham trailing by a goal to nil. And really, that was a bit of a let-off considering how the first half went. A reminder, as games get underway in the second half, Brentford are goaled up on Everton. 2-2 between Manchester United, now down to 10 men, and Ipswich, and goalless between Forest and Arsenal. And Liverpool, in the 8:15 kickoff, are leading by a goal to nil against Newcastle. Dominic Szoboszlai with the early goal at Anfield. Vicario now will clear long downfield. Brennan Johnson in pursuit, but Gvardiol will head the ball away. Doku was having his head pulled back there by Porro, but play continues. Maddison, wide to Odobert now down the left-hand side. He's got Udogie in support. Odobert comes in field, goes down inside the penalty area, and the penalty appeals were half-hearted to say the least from the Spurs supporters. Nothing from the players, and it's gathered by Danso again.
No, but at least Spurs are trying to be, positive at the start of this second half, and Odobert in particular. I think he's the one who's disappointed me. You can understand, look, he's hardly played this season. Brennan Johnson I want to see more of. Tell certainly as well, but he could say he's not had any service. I want to see the wide players get involved more from Spurs.
Savinho involved here for Manchester City, down the right, waiting for the support which now arrives all the way back to Kovacic. And very quickly, every single Manchester City player is inside the Spurs half. Quickly forward from Savinho to find Nunez. The deep cross is beyond Haaland, but will be gathered by Doku on this near side. And now Gvardiol on the corner of the penalty area. And at times it does seem very easy for Manchester City to work the ball around. Kovacic again. And now Doku again. Maybe thought about the first time ball down the channel for Nico Gonzalez, but Kovacic will take over. And here is Nico Gonzalez once again. And you can count the passes from Manchester City at the moment. It's a bit early for the Olays.
It is, but this is, I'm not suggesting they are, but this is like the old Manchester City, the way they're passing it around.
Marmoush quickly plays it forward now to Savinho, and a really good challenge coming in from behind from Udogie inside the penalty area to win it back, and Odobert then rides the challenge of Marmoush. A nutmeg on Nico Gonzalez, and Madison will try and bring it forward here for Spurs. Plays it further on towards Odobert. He claims he was fouled, but Jared Gillard, the referee, is not interested, and Manchester City will bring it forward again.
Well, he was, but he played on. You can't say we've now made a bad pass, I'll bring it back. Madison did the hard work, and then a simple pass just wasn't good enough. And I talk about they want to see more of the Spurs wide players. They could say, well, midfield, give us the ball.
Marmoush has been fouled by Bentancur on the far side, and it will be a free kick. And Savinho acting as the auxiliary cheerleader on the far side to try and get the City fans whipped up around that corner.
Yeah, Bentancur just needs to be careful, doesn't he? Sometimes should we say clumsy. He's already on a yellow card. He can't afford to give too many tackles like that away.
Well, he's already served a 7-match ban this season. Marmoush over the free kick here for Manchester City, leading by a goal to nil. 5 minutes into the second half here on Talksport 2. Goals in all the games in the Premier League, apart from at the City Ground over on Talksport, where it's Forest 0, Arsenal 0. Liverpool, as things stand, early days of course, could be 13 points clear by the end of tonight, and that really would be game over. Marmoush with the free kick, high to the far post, glanced away by Johnson, but gathered by Doku now on the left. Doku will try and come in field beyond Johnson, fires in the shot, but it was always swinging wide of that far post.
He's so dangerous, isn't he? Again, I talked about at the start of the game, I wouldn't fancy marking either of these two wingers, and when they get the ball and they've got time and space, Odobert especially is not helping out Destiny Udogie, so Nunez is bombing on, making it a 2-on-1 at times, and Doku on his own is just going past Pedro Porro at will.
Udogie now wide to the far side, and Odobert. Madison makes the run ahead of him, just has to check his run to stay onside. Odobert though goes himself beyond Nunez into the penalty area, now back towards Madison. A crossing opportunity headed away at the near post, but gathered now by Pedro Porro. The crowd urge him to shoot. They'll remember that goal here in the FA Cup a couple of years ago, and also the goal he scored at the Etihad back in November.
Oh, he can ping the ball for sure. Just again, City, even though he was 30 yards out, the City players, not just one but two, really closed them down. It's a really impressive performance in Manchester City. Can't in any way say that they're back. This isn't a first choice Spurs side, and you need at least half a dozen performances like this. But again, we said that we're not quite sure which Manchester City will turn up. It's a good one tonight.
Harry Maguire has put Manchester United, the 10 men of Manchester United, 3-2 up against Ipswich in a topsy-turvy game at Old Trafford, as Nunez takes out Udogie, and it will be a free kick on the far side for Tottenham, just inside their own half, and Savinho just delaying the restart. Just a word from Jared Gillett, and here is Gray. 52 minutes played, Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. Erling Haaland with the goal. There should have been more in a dominant first half. Now the chase down the centre, and it was Tell again, who was outnumbered by Kusanov and Diaz, and chasing a long ball high over his shoulder. It's a difficult job.
He dealt with that really well, Ruben Diaz. I mean, let's just say Tell's not Kylian Mbappe.
No, not at the moment anyway. Well, Udogie has been penalised here, and it will be a free kick for Manchester City. And it's a game which, at the moment, is rather meandering on for Spurs. Manchester City, of course, have the lead. They'll be happy, but Tottenham Hotspur have got to be offering far more here in front of a home crowd.
Well, I'll go back to what I said. How much does Ange want to win this game? Of course he doesn't want to lose it, but it's how much do you want to win it versus how worried about you are anybody getting injured ahead of next week. We know it's all or nothing on the Europa League, and he's been under so much pressure this season.
Now a good ball from Guardiola, wide to the far side, and Savinho, he can attack the penalty area, comes infield, the shot takes a massive deflection and spins just wide. Vicario was nowhere there, wrong-footed by that. It was Danso who was in the way, and it's a corner kick.
Well, again, the two wide players are just able to pick up the ball and run at pace. He comes inside of Doggy, gets the shot in, and Danso he's positioned himself really well. I tell you what, I don't think Vicario would have got to that. Just not quite sure whether it had gone in or maybe just the other side of the post, but it's good defending.
Corner kick for Manchester City. Over on the far side, Tell just having a shoving match inside the penalty area with Nico Gonzalez. That continues as Maddison heads the corner kick away. And now Bentancur steps in to win it back. He tries to release the run of Oliver on the far side, but City will recover it. Now Bentancur again, under pressure, finding Maddison. And here is Bergvall. Further wide to Danso. Bergvall now will try and drive over the halfway line beyond Kovacic. He's got Brennan Johnson ahead of him, but the through ball is cut out by Guardiola, but it will be a throw-in for Tottenham, midway inside the City half. If City win this game, they'll be back into the top four. As Porro comes forward now down the right. Good cross into the penalty area and put wide at the far post by Wilson Odobert. On the stretch, it was a difficult opportunity to take, but suddenly Spurs so close to the equaliser.
Well, this is what we're talking about. All the while it's 1-0. Even if you're being outplayed, you're still in the game. What a ball from Porro. Just whips it across. No defender can get there, and Udogie just leans forward, stretches out his left foot, not able to get proper direction on it. And if he had able to get clean contact, there's no doubt about it, that would have been a goal. Great ball in from Porro, much better from Spurs.
So City will be up to fourth, a point clear of Chelsea, and Newcastle of course are currently losing at Anfield. They would be 3 points adrift of Manchester City, but it's very, very tight. Forest of course currently drawing at home to Arsenal, and at the top two would be separated by 13 points, but it's early days both in the second half of the Arsenal game and the first half of the City game, of the Liverpool game rather, as Nunez under pressure here from Odobert runs it behind, and it will be a Spurs corner, and suddenly the home team have woken up.
Better, much better from Spurs in the last 5-10 minutes, very much on the attack, and if Andrew's thinking about making subs, he might just hold back a bit.
It's worked short from the corner to Pedro Porro. Now Udogie. Wide to the far side again. And Maddison. Porro in a central area. 30 yards out, looking for width. It's offered by Danso. Porro wanders over to the right-hand side. Now Danso. Bergvall coming short. And now Porro's got the opportunity to whip in another cross, which is fisted away by Ederson. Dealt with that well, and Savinho will bring it clear. And Savinho is rugby tackled by Maddison. That's a yellow card. He knew that was coming. That's something we should have seen at Twickenham at the weekend.
I'll tell you what. Oh, he must have looked up and seen his James Maddison said, right, I just need to knock it past you. And that was rugby, American football, all in one. Maddison said,
okay, it's an NFL stadium, isn't it?
Absolutely. So you can get the ball past me, but you ain't coming past me. He didn't want to be in a left-back position there, did he?
No, it was a high rugby challenge. That's how high it was. Both arms almost around the neck as Bergvall is held back there by Marmouche, but Maddison directing the traffic here inside the centre circle, looking to bring it forward again. And now Bentancur. Spurs suddenly finding the angles now. On the far side, Odobert infield towards Maddison, 25 yards out. Porro just coming in field again, but the space for Johnson on the right. Johnson now will try and step away from Gvardiol, and he was caught by Gvardiol. It will be a free kick. Jared Gillett just giving himself a moment, but no complaints from Gvardiol, and it's taken too quickly by Porro for the liking of the referee, so Spurs will have to try again.
Yeah, I mean, it was the slightest of touches from Gvardiol, but it was enough because it was two hands. Brennan Johnson went down quite easily. I think it's just take your time. We know that someone like Pedro Porro or even James Maddison's got a great whip in. So just put it in the right area, and Spurs are in this game.
And you're listening to Spurs against Manchester City on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now. Search Now Sports. Jed Spence is preparing to come on. I don't think Son Heung-min is too far away either. Pedro Porro over the free kick here for Tottenham. And you can hear the home crowd right back in this game now. Porro's delivery, high towards the far post. Danso's header, but it's into the arms of Ederson.
Well, it's the second header he's had, isn't he? And that could arguably easier than the first in the first half. It's given a little push on one of the City players, and I think he'll be disappointed he didn't get proper contact on that.
And it's going to be a triple change. Dejan Kulusevski will also be coming on. So the three players who were left out today are all coming on with an hour played for Spurs. Kulusevski, Spence and Son.
Well, the doggy has to come off. He's got to be looked after in terms of minutes. And then you would think the two wide players.
Tell.
Possibly. Yes, Son may go up front. I don't think Tell or Odegaard has been particularly great. I think Odegaard's slightly better, but Tell can say that it's because he hasn't really been given quality ball. Could be any of the front three, really, couldn't it?
Yes. And they'll also have the game in Alkmaar coming up in 8 days' time in the Europa League round of 16 first leg.
Well, I don't think, Nige, that he actually wants to make these substitutions, really, but can't not when you're 1-0 down playing at home.
Exactly. If you're going to pick a team... Anyway, more of that in a moment as Odegaard comes forward now, cuts infield towards the edge of the penalty area. The shot takes a deflection, loops towards Ederson, who has to pull the ball behind, and it will be a corner. Well, that seemed to hang in the air for an age. Everybody watched it, and Ederson had to scramble the ball behind.
Well, Odegaard has definitely been better in the second half than the first. This time running inside, having the shot, it's deflected. It did, it seemed to hang there, didn't it, for a bit. They weren't quite sure whether Ederson was going to get there. He claimed a foul. It's not, it's all Spurs at the moment.
Porro will take the corner kick on this near side. Manchester City leading by a 0-0, but it's suddenly looking a rather tenuous lead here. Pedro Porro will deliver this as a Spurs player goes down inside the area, and it's Bergvall, and Jared Gillett will just have a word, and Erling Haaland has stood there, arms outstretched. Well, Ruben Diaz just shoved him over.
Yes, he did. Can he not claim that's a foul and therefore a penalty?
Well, the ball's dead, isn't it?
So
it's an interesting one. If the ball was in flight and they did that, it would be a penalty.
Interesting. So if I come at you in the box and the ball's out, even if I 2-foot you waist high...
Well, you'd be sent off, wouldn't you, I suppose, but...
Not a pen.
Here is Porro with the delivery, and the header towards goal is wide from Bentancur, and then he heads the air in frustration, showing how he should have headed it, but it took a deflection, and it will be another corner, and Spurs are looking for a quick one here, although Maddison just tells Bergvall to calm down.
Well, I'm not sure that is a corner. I think it's come off his back, Bentancur. He's jumped in the air, he's dropped his neck a little bit. Who cares? And three players wanting to come on, still waiting.
Corner kick here, which Maddison will take. The in-swinger on the far side, high into the 6-yard area, glanced on, and it was a sharp header, but it was straight into the arms of Ederson from Bentancur once again.
Yeah, it's him again, isn't it? It's a great ball whipped in. He gets in between Haaland and I think it's Ruben Diaz. No, it's Mateus Nunes, and it's actually straight at Ederson. Good positioning from the goalkeeper.
Still Brentford 1, Everton 0. Manchester United 3, Ipswich 2, 0-0 Forest Arsenal, Liverpool 1, Newcastle 0. Johnson coming forward now. The early ball in from Porro, claimed well by Ederson, who made the decision to go down early, and it was the right one. He quickly bowls it out to Marmoush. And now Doku looking to take on Bentancur, who was on a yellow card, so he couldn't really make the challenge and bring him down. But Johnson comes back to recover, and Gray is quick enough to avoid the corner.
The ball just won't go out. Three lads have been on the touchline waiting to come on. And I'll tell you what, Spurs have been so good in the last 5 or 10 minutes. I'm sure Andrew probably thinking, I wish I could tell him to sit back on the bench. Spurs are the better side at the moment. You don't always want to make changes in that position. Yes, if it carried on like the first half, he had to make changes.
Half time at Wembley, England 1, Spain 0 in the Women's Nations League. As Doku comes forward now, down the left-hand side. Back again towards Nico Gonzalez. Gvardiol. Of course, a second City goal would really puncture Spurs' momentum here. It's laid back into the path of Kusanov and all the way back towards the halfway line again. Gvardiol, Son, Kulusevski and Spence have been waiting there for about 5 minutes now. Doku finding Kovacic. And now Nunez in a central area, lifted wide to Savinho again. Udogie has been rather isolated. And the 1-2 has worked between Savinho and Marmoush. His shot takes a deflection, pings across the penalty area. The clearance, though, was a poor one from Porro. And now Doku playing in Nico Gonzalez down the left. Back towards Doku again. And Kovacic takes over down the Manchester City left-hand side, coming in field to find Nunez. 65 minutes played. Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. And it's going to be a quadruple change now. They've waited so long, they're going to bring on Pape Sarr as well.
The players would have come on about 10 minutes ago, I think. I didn't know the warm-up.
Well, Pape Sarr is currently in conversation with a member of Hans Postecoglou's coaching team, as it's now won back high up the field by Oliver in towards Matthias Tell. Oh, he's missed the sitter 6 yards out, but there was no conviction at all in the finish from Matthias Tell, and it bobbles wide, but it was a great chance.
Well, that is Destiny Udogie at his very best, just nipping in, getting the ball, running with it, and it's just a little bit behind him, and Mateus Nunes does really well getting a bit of a touch on it as well. It's gone out from a corner. Tell will be disappointed he wasn't quite able to score there.
Tell now coming off, it was his final kick. Bentancur will also make way. That's the change with Pape Sarr coming on. Udogie, who, as Scott was saying, is someone they need to watch at the moment in terms of minutes. And Odobert will also be withdrawn. So Kulusevski, Son, Spence and Sarr all coming on for Tottenham midway through the second half.
Well, he does want to win the game. I understand exactly what he's been thinking, what's happened all season. The pressure's been put under in press conferences as well as by his own fans in terms of it's not been good enough. Tottenham Hotspur being where they are in the league. He's had lots of injuries. There's no doubt about it. All the eggs are in that Europa League basket. But if he wants to try and get something out tonight, he's got to put the big boys on.
Maddison will take the corner kick after that flurry of Spurs changes. The delivery in towards that near post, flicked on by Johnson, but it was always rising. May have just skimmed the roof of the netting, but it's over the top. And again, it was a Spurs head that got to that.
Yeah,
Sorry, Scott.
No. Honestly, I mean, Spurs, to be fair, have done really well. You know, the substitutes have only been made now, and as poor as they were in the first half, I think they've been really good in the second. There's no doubt about it. Andrew said, come on, got to be doing better than this. You're playing in front of your own fans. Got to get hold of the ball. Got to win tackles, win your individual battles. Now they're doing that, and on the front foot.
Spence charging forward now from left back. His first involvement. Sarr going back to Danso. Spence again, clipped forward by Maddison, looking for Kulusevski. He's playing down the middle with Son out on the left and Johnson continuing on the right.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And we know that Kulusevski can play as a 10 in the middle, not so much as a 9. But Brennan Johnson's certainly comfortable on the right and Son on the left.
And now City have given away possession cheaply by the corner flag on the near side, and you can hear the crowd here in North London right behind their team. Midway through the second half, Manchester City leading 1-0. Bergvall back to Archie Gray, and Vicario has had very little to do in the second half, and Pep Guardiola was stood on the edge of his technical area a few moments ago, arms outstretched, maybe wondering where his team's control of this game has gone. Maddison picking out Son further on towards Jed Spence, pull back to Sarr, and it's cleared away inside the 6-yard area. It was Gvardiol who was back there. The shot from Sarr was goal bound, and it was cleared away by Gvardiol for a throw-in.
This is really good from Spurs, but when you're on top like this, you need to score. Need to get into it, because City will grab hold of this game at some point, but as I say, it's all Spurs. Very impressive in the second half. It's a complete turnaround from the first.
Gray on this near side, finding Bergvall. And Danso looking for options further forward, but instead he will find Gray. But Manchester City are so deep now. They were doing this to Spurs for much of the first half.
It is. It's a complete role reversal, isn't it? City more than comfortable on the ball and not looking troubled defensively in that first half. It's the other way round right now.
Son in pursuit of a ball forward on the far side, but it's cut out by Diaz. Well, the ball across the penalty area was a poor one by Nunez, and now Haaland has lost out to Maddison, who lunges in with a challenge, and the high ball forward down the left will find Son, who comes in field, but he's challenged by Kovacic, and Danso will gather once again. And you're listening to Spurs against Manchester City on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Now Jed Spence on the left-hand side, taking on the youngster Kasanov. Slipped into Maddison, the cross deflected behind, it's a corner kick. And Maddison now geeing up the Spurs crowd behind that goal.
Well, they can't do much more apart from score a goal now. And whatever happens, I think the Spurs fans can go home and say, well, at least our side gave it absolutely everything after what was a poor first half. They've showed great character in the second, and I genuinely think they've been, as bad as they were in the first, they've been so much better in the second. Fully deserved to get an equaliser.
Maddison will take this corner kick once again. Headed away unchallenged by Nunez inside the 6-yard area. Bergvall all the way back to the halfway line. And there is movement on the City bench as well. And they'll be their first change very soon. But Porro has lost out in an aerial duel on this near side. And it's Marmoush who tries to find Doku, but Papsar nips in and Spurs quickly win it back. Now Bergvall charging forward in towards Maddison. Son in space on the left. Son now will try and attack Nunez. Bergvall makes the run ahead of him. Son though can continue deep into the penalty area. Has to turn back now. Needs support. Gets it from Papsar on the edge of the penalty area. Maddison, Sarr. And here is Spence. On towards Son again, who was onside. Maddison though unable to gather, as Nunez does well to intercept. And City will bring it clear with 18 minutes to play on Talksport 2. Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. Bernardo Silva will be coming on very soon for Manchester City. Still Brentford 1, Everton 0. Manchester United 3, Ipswich 2. Both those games available on the app. And it's Forest 0, Arsenal 0 over on Talksport. Liverpool leading Newcastle 1-0 on Talk Radio, with the second half coming up on Talksport.
Brilliant defending from Destiny Udogie. It's not what a fullback wants. The winger running at pace, can go either way. He showed outside and just got in his body in front. Really, really good defending. And look, it's a bigger game for Manchester City in terms of the Premier League. You know, Spurs can't really do anything. Of course they want to finish at least in the top half, but City want to finish in a Champions League place. Absolutely, Pep's got to make changes.
Phil Foden will also be coming on along with Bernardo Silva. And the referee has given a free kick to Spurs, but before it's taken, they will allow changes to be made for Manchester City, and it's Omar Marmoush and Nico Gonzalez who will come off.
Yeah, well, I think Omar Marmoush had a good first half, decent without being brilliant. Second half, he's been pretty anonymous. So bringing on Phil Foden, little point to prove. He'll certainly, we know the quality he's got. He's got to somehow get hold of this game and get control back to Manchester City, and Well, Nico Gonzalez is seen as more of a better holding mid player than Bernardo Silva, but boy, can Silva keep the ball. So again, that's what they have to do, City.
Peterborough have pulled a goal back in the Virtue Trophy semi-final at Wrexham. Malik Mothersill has made it 2-1. Still time in the game for them there. And Rangers in Scotland, of course, sacked their manager Philippe Clement on Sunday after losing to St Mirren. They're 2-1 down at Kilmarnock tonight. They're underway in the second half at Wembley. Still England 1, Spain 0. And no further goals in the Premier League. And we still have West Ham against Leicester to bring you on TalkSport tomorrow night from this midweek round. 16 minutes to play here. And Manchester City will hope they have ridden out the storm.
It's been a great midweek round already, isn't it? Not over yet. Twists and turns tonight with a game tomorrow as well. FA Cup at the weekend. Don't you just love it?
Now Brian Johnson coming forward now, down the right-hand side. Kulusevski on the edge of the penalty area. Pulled back to Kulusevski, who just touches the ball away from Maddison. And it's claimed by Ederson. Lack of communication there for Spurs.
Well, if Maddison's going to make all the theatrics, then he should be shouting at Kulusevski to leave it. I don't believe he did. Kulusevski's got to try and see if he can bring that down. And he's stretching too much, so he's not able to get control of it. But again, just got to keep knocking at the door. One of these times, one of these chances, they'll be able to put them away. Looking at Pep, he looks so frustrated, doesn't he? So much in control in the first half, totally out controlled in the second.
Well, they should have been out of sight at half-time, Manchester City. If they'd led 3 or 4-0, Spurs could have had no complaints. But it's been a different story in the second half. And City, a team who are, of course, maybe displaying some scar tissue from not just the losses at Arsenal and against Liverpool, but others this season. They've been a bit tentative, haven't they, since half-time?
They have, and that's happened a lot. You mentioned it earlier, 14 defeats in 27 in all competitions. And a lot of them, they have gone ahead. It's amazing. I think it was Guardiola who said, actually, sometimes when we go ahead and then we concede a goal, we feel like it's destiny we're going to lose. And when you're thinking like that, with that mentality, we're seeing that tonight.
But Erling Haaland usually tends to score in London. 7 goals in his last 6 games in the capital, including the only goal here tonight as Jed Spence comes forward again. Scored his first goal at Ipswich at the weekend for Tottenham in the Premier League. And he's already become a very popular figure. Nunez turning away from Sarr. And City just trying to take the sting out of the occasion here as Doku chases forward, but he's offside 10 yards inside the Spurs half.
Well, that was tight. I thought Danso just dropped off. Doku felt he was onside. To be fair to Archie Gray, he got back in the end and made a good tackle.
Thomas Tuchel is here watching tonight. Of course, the World Cup qualifiers begin in the March international break. You can hear both of England's games on TalkSport.
He was at Selhurst last night. He's following me around.
Following you around, yeah.
Was he following Izzy?
Do you think you could still solve that problem down the left-hand side?
I never could.
Well, there's going to be another change here. Timo Werner, the lesser spotted Timo Werner, is preparing to come on for Tottenham here. As it's back with Danso. And the game has just quietened down for a couple of moments after some considerable Spurs pressure here.
Well, that will definitely favour City. They don't want it as high intense as it has been really pretty much for the whole of the second half.
Now Pedro Porro as Spurs try and play the ball out, and they've managed to do that. Currently Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. For the latest odds, head to William Hill, the official betting partner of TalkSport 2's Premier League coverage right now. Spurs to win at 12-1, Manchester City 3-1 on the draw, 16-5, all thanks to William Hill. 18 plus, gambleaware.org. Maddison with a free kick for Spurs, clipped down the line on the left. looking for Son, but it beats both he and Nunez out of play. And it will be a throw-in for Manchester City, who are just looking to see this game out now, and Timo Werner will be on very soon.
Well, there's an opportunity for him, isn't it? For sure. Coming back from injury, I think it's fair to say he's not a Spurs fan's favourite, but I still think he's a nightmare to play against. He just hasn't got that final composure, the final ball, really.
Well, he doesn't know what he's going to do,
no,
so
that's true.
The opposition have got no chance. Yet to score a Premier League goal this season, although he's only started 4 games. He's come off the bench 13 times. But did score. His only goal was against Manchester City here in the League Cup. As Danso plays it back to Vicario, and we tick towards the final 10 minutes. Porro again, over the top, looking for Johnson. It's allowed to run through. Diaz with the back pass towards Ederson. Son will try and close him down, but in the end it's brought forward by Nunez. And here is Bernardo Silva, quickly over the top. Haaland infuriated, the ball doesn't come to him, but it's wide to Doku on this near side. Doku now looking to attack the penalty area. Half time at Anfield, Liverpool 1, Newcastle 0, still goalless. 10 minutes to play at the City Ground. Forest against Arsenal. Always looked like being a tricky game for Mikel Arteta's team. At the moment, they will be 13 points behind Liverpool. If that was Manchester City, we would say title race over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they do have a game in hand. You know, even if Liverpool were to drop points, and I don't feel they'll lose too many. I just don't see Arsenal going on the run that they need to.
Manchester United with 10 men, still leading Ipswich 3-2 at Old Trafford. And Brentford a goal up on Everton. The Brentford and United games are available on the Talksport app, and Forest Arsenal on Talksport. As Manchester City come forward now with Foden back towards Nunez on the right. Foden again, who scored 6 goals in 4 games in January, but now he's bowled over by the challenge from Spence, and it will be a free kick. Everton have equalised at Brentford. Jake O'Brien, one of the players who's been brought in recently by David Moyes, with the equalising goal there. And James Maddison will be replaced by Timo Werner.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Not like for like in that sense, but Kulusevski will drop back in. It'll be interesting to see whether Son goes up front and Werner out wide. Doesn't last a game, does he? Either doesn't start or doesn't finish, James Maddison.
9 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League so far this season, which is a more than presentable record.
Yeah, look, there's only Cole Palmer of an English midfielder who's got more, and he's played a lot more minutes than James Maddison.
Free kick for Manchester City. 8 minutes to play. Tottenham 0. Manchester City 1 here on Talksport 2. As the free kick whipped in towards the near post, headed away by Spence and fired in by Savinho, took a deflection, and in the end the ball spins away on this near side, hits the corner flag and goes out for a corner to Manchester City, and Josko Gvardiol is down inside the Tottenham penalty area.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened, but I think he got caught in his Achilles. And he's gone down. They'll probably try and, not time wasting, but I don't think he'd be in a rush to get up. Just talked about how it had calmed down a little bit. That's what City want. They want to try and get back control of this game. Spurs have been excellent in the second half. They've really stepped it up. They have. They deserve to get the equaliser, but don't always get what you deserve.
But at the moment, they are staring a 7th home defeat this season in the face. And Foden will take the corner kick on this near side. Gvardiol is back on his feet. Doku coming short. Foden, though, sends it high over the head of Haaland. Kulusevski, though, is able to clear the ball away at the far post, but it's won back by Savinho, and here is Bernardo Silva. And he quickly loses out to Sarr, who squirts it forward into the path of Son. Now wide to Brennan Johnson. He comes in field beyond Kovacic. Johnson into the penalty area. Into Son with a shot, beaten away by Edison. And Ruben Diaz gets to the equaliser first. And the flag is up for offside. Erling Haaland, I think, who was inside the penalty area, so a free kick's been given, and it was a decent effort there from Son, but Edison making a fine save, and then Ruben Diaz tidying up.
Now again, it's brilliant play from Spurs. As Johnson comes inside Kovacic, he's realised he's got to then whip it in. Son gets in front of his defender. It's a really good, it has to take it first time. He gets it on target with pace, and Edison makes a really good reaction save. Shaking his head, Son. And they have come close on several occasions now in this second half.
5.5 minutes to play. Manchester City inching towards a rare away success for them against a team who aren't in the relegation zone. Their only away wins since mid-October have come against Leicester and Ipswich.
It's incredible, isn't it?
At the moment, they're winning here, and Danso brings it forward though for Tottenham. Wide to Werner on the left-hand side. Spence makes the run into the penalty area. Good challenge though from Kasanov. Spence looking to twist and turn, but Kasanov stands firm. And it's brought clear by Nunez. Now Doku. Space for Gvardiol. A big switch from him, from left to right. Wide towards Savinho on the far side. Haaland just holding his run to stay onside, and when the ball is passed through to him, it's cut out by Pape Sarr and back towards Vicario. Tottenham will still believe there is a chance in this game. Kulusevski closed down though by Kovacic, and Tottenham will have the throw-in.
It's amazing, at the start of the game, and even when it went 1-0, if someone had said there's only going to be one goal in this game, you wouldn't have believed them, would you? It's been a really good game of football. City dominating the first half, all Spurs second.
Kulusevski now working hard on this near side. Then one back by Bergvall, but it's Foden who rides the challenge and brings the ball away for Manchester City. Haaland ahead of him. Doku away to the left, Savinho to the right. Foden was taken down late there by Pape Sarr, and in the end play will be brought back and Pape Sarr will be booked.
Well, it's one of those where Foden, he does kind of hold on to the ball quite late. Sarr just, he puts his elbow into his back, and then Foden goes down and clutching his head. I mean, it's not a tackle he needs to do at all, but it's not as bad as Foden's making out. I just wonder whether should we call it game management?
It could be at this stage, in the 87th minute. Bernardo Silva over the free kick. And Ange Postecoglou looks on. His team on the verge of another defeat here. Doku. Bernardo Silva ahead of him, but here is Kovacic now advancing on the penalty area. Haaland leaves it for Foden, back towards Haaland again, and now Savinho. Haaland on the overlap, but Savinho comes in field, and it's a tame shot into the arms of Vicario. It's bowled out to Spence, and we have 2.5 minutes of normal time to play. Werner finding Bergvall. Oh, terrible ball from Bergvall. Straight to Haaland on the edge of his own penalty area. Bernardo Silva finding Savinho. Smothering challenge by Danso. Gerard Gillett, the referee, also slips over, but he gets back to his feet, and he gives a free kick because Danso is then caught in the face by Savinho.
Well, first of all, Lucas Bergvall, really poor play there, poor pass. Danso does really well. And who fouls the ref? Is that a yellow card for someone?
I think he dived.
No, he slipped over looking at his studs, but it's a brilliant tackle from Danso, because to tell you what, that was a really dangerous counter-attack from City.
Ball's gone out of play on this near side, so it will be a throw-in for Tottenham in the 89th minute. John McAtee will be, or James McAtee rather, that's his brother, will be coming on very soon for Manchester City. And Tottenham making heavy weather of trying to bring it forward on the far side. And now it is out of play for a City throw-in. Elsewhere, Everton 1, Brentford 1 at the G-Tech. Manchester United 3, Ipswich 2. 0-0 in the 90th minute at the City Ground over on Talksport between Forest and Arsenal. And Liverpool at half-time leading Newcastle by a 1-0. Now another challenge on Foden on the edge of the penalty area from Bergvall this time. And it will be a free kick for Manchester City.
Well, I'll tell you what, Phil Foden's done exactly what Pep Guardiola has asked him to do, what Omar Mamouche hasn't been able to, certainly for most of that second half. He's got hold of the ball, he's running with it, and if he's had any contact, he's gone down, won the free kick and just killed the game, just killed the atmosphere a little bit. Where Spurs are desperate to try and keep the intensity up and attack. It's
James
breaking
McAtee
up now
coming on to replace Savinho, and he is off the bench in the Premier League for the 10th time this season. No starts, and he takes his position on the right hand side of midfield. Bernardo Silva over the free kick here, and it's worked short to McAtee, and there will be a minimum of 4 more minutes. Now Kovacic, running Gvardiol, and Doku goes down. Porro claims he went down very easily, but a free kick's been given.
Yeah, it's a foul. When we talk about game management, it's exactly what Manchester City have been doing for the last 5 or so minutes, passing the ball, and if it's waiting for those tackles to come in, going down, getting the foul, just killing the game.
They are heading for penalties at the racecourse. Peterborough, who were 2 goals down, have equalised at Wrexham in the semi-final of the Virtu Trophy. So the All-American final may be on hold, as Manchester City, working hard without the ball, prevent Spurs from playing the ball out, and it will be a throw-in here. And it's not been a spectacular Manchester City performance, but a very important one nonetheless.
Yeah, look, first half I thought they were excellent, deserved to be more than 1-0 up, but second half it's been all Spurs, but they have been quite compact defensively.
Now it's played forward by Kulusevski, looking to attack on this near side, but it's closed down by Kusanov, but Spurs will have a throw-in, level with the edge of the penalty area. And it's worked wide by Porro towards Danso, charging forward, he overruns it, but then he wins it back. Sarr, wide towards Werner now. Werner with the opportunity to try and play it into the penalty area. Back towards Porro, and now Bergvall. Bergvall riding one challenge, but not the second one, and City will clear. And now Doku using his pace, but Gray is quick as well, and he slides in. But it will be a throw-in for Manchester City on this near side. And Spurs just rather made heavy weather of that, as Doku goes down with cramp.
Well, he's right by the touchline, so someone
over.
Yeah, someone push him over that line. He knows what he's doing. There's a really good tackle from Archer Gray, and he has to make it. He's the last man. It was a 2v1 almost. It's one of those where I have to make it, but I know it's going to go out. They're going to keep the ball. It's a throw-in for them. They'll take their time. Another substitution.
And Ilkay Gundogan will be coming on as they try and finish this game off. Jack Grealish is also getting some seconds on the pitch. Kovacic is coming off. Jeremy Doku is also coming off as well. And Grealish and Gundogan are the players who replace them. And we have just under a minute of added time to play, and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is emptying rapidly. Bernardo Silva down the line looking for Haaland. Grealish, though, tries to win it back, but here is Haaland now. Can he finish things off with a flourish? Works the 1-2 with Foden. Still Haaland all the way through. Brilliant goal from Erling Haaland. And he sets the seal on a crucial victory for Manchester City. That was all about the pace. It was all about the power. And it's not going to count. It's handball.
Oh, wow, we're still not 100% sure what's happening here, but it does look like it's been pulled back. Referee waiting.
Well, Graham Scott, the VAR, is checking this.
Yeah, look, I mean, he does absolutely brilliant, you're right. He's got 2 or 3 players around him, runs inside the box, got 4 players around him. Plays a little 1-2. The first angle, I can't quite see a handball. We're looking at a second angle now.
Yeah, maybe just brings it round with his hand, that final touch before he finishes. Possibly roll down his arm, although it's not conclusive because he was challenged by Gray and Danso. Yeah. Haaland wasn't waiting to find out.
No, I mean, it hits his arm, it does lead directly to a goal. We're still waiting at the moment.
Well, we're seeing the angle that Graham Scott is looking at, and it does appear to have struck him on the arm.
It looks like he's hit Archie Gray's arm at the same time. He's going to need a different angle.
Well, we are well beyond the 4 minutes. It is finished at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 0, Arsenal 0. So Arsenal drop more points, and they've gone to penalties between Wrexham and Peterborough. 2-2 in the Virtu Trophy semi-final.
See, I don't think it's the first one that the VAR has been looking at where he goes in with Archie Gray. I think it's almost the second one where it goes in with Kevin Danso.
Yeah, it might be Danso that handles the ball.
Yeah, I think he does. Does Erling Haaland as well. And as a striker, if it leads directly, you've handled the ball and it leads directly to a goal, then it's not allowed.
Well, it maybe spins off the upper arm, certainly, but...
Do you know what, though? I know rules are rules, but I think it's hit all 3 of their arms, and 2 of those are Tottenham players.
This might be the angle that tells us, but then we're back to the old T-shirt line, aren't we? Is it handball or is it on the shoulder?
The bottom line is they don't know. They're still looking. So let's just go with the referee's call.
They are looking for a reason to disallow it.
Yeah.
Well, they're still checking here. Graham Scott has not had to get involved until the 94th minute.
It's probably not going to have another kick for the final whistle's going to go.
Might have 20 seconds, if that.
I just think when things are taking this long and you're still not sure, just go with the referee's call. Rules are rules, but they can't tell whether it's come off his arm or not. And in the end, they've
disallowed it. Handball.
Yeah. That was the referee's call, though, wasn't it? I think he disallowed it.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
He disallowed it. So we're into the 98th minute. No one's quite sure how much time we've got left. Danso's got to get it forward here. Gray, high over the top, flicked on by Kulusevski, and now Porro with the opportunity to play the crossing, flicked on by Son, over the top. What a glorious opportunity to equalise. Papsar, 6 yards out, the goal was gaping, and he plants the header over the crossbar.
Oh my goodness, and that's probably the last kick of the game as well. They got it up there, good flick from Kulusevski. Brilliant first-time ball in again from Pedro Porro. Fantastic, clever flick from Son. And Papsar, great movement to get into the box, but you have to hit the target. You hit the target, keeper's got no chance.
We're into the 99th minute now. That's surely that. But Tottenham have had the opportunities to take something from this game.
Yes, they have. They really have. I think they've deserved a point out of this, but you don't always get what you deserve.
Cleared downfield again by Edison. Tottenham throwing. And Jarrod Gillett blows the full-time whistle. It's a crucial victory for Manchester City in their pursuit of the top four. Tottenham slip to a 7th home defeat of the season. They surround the referee at the end of the game. But really, Tottenham should have started the game at 7:30, and not just for the second half. Manchester City could have been out of sight by half-time. Erling Haaland with the early goal, and that proved to be enough in the end.
Well, if ever you hear the phrase a game of two halves, that was what we've just witnessed. Man City in total control in the first half, both with and without the ball. How it was only 1-0, we're still not quite sure. Erling Haaland missing a great opportunity from 6 yards or 5 yards when he put one in the back of the net from a similar position. And just before half-time, they should have scored as well. But fair play to Spurs. Don't know what's in their tea and the oranges that they have at half-time, but certainly they came out and they were brilliant. They were really good. They gave absolutely everything. They got everything bar that equaliser. Created chances. And I think the fans can go home. Well, they won't go home happy. They can certainly be proud of their team in the second half, showing a lot of character.
Well, there's a big banner unfurled by the Spurs fans behind the goal away to our right, saying 24 years, 16 managers, 1 trophy, time for change. Daniel Levy, of course, is here tonight. But they're thinking about that trophy, the Europa League trophy, of course, and that really coloured their entire performance in the first half.
Well, the performance in the first half was because Ange was quite clearly thinking of the game next week against AZ. You know, again, I alluded to it more than once this evening, but how many times has he been grilled about Tottenham's performance and they shouldn't be where they are in the league and they've been knocked out of both cups now? And he's been saying, look, it's injuries. If I get my best players back and have options off the bench, then you'll see a different Spurs side. I think we've seen that in the last few games, I think. And certainly as more and more players come back, there'll be more and more options. But no, they were a lot better in the second half, even with the side that he picked first up. But it wasn't their front three first choice for sure.
Time now to pick our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the match on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes. So if you've got a plan, we've got a van.
And Scott, contenders on both sides, I think.
Well, yeah. I don't think there's been any standout player. I think absolutely, again, how many times have we talked about Archie Gray, and actually Kevin Danso did well alongside him as well. Pedro Porro, especially in the second half, you know, whipped some wonderful balls in, really did. Brennan Johnson got more and more into the game. And I think for Manchester City, I like Kusanov. I think he was quietly confident and did very well from a defending point of view. Not an easy thing to come into Manchester City, but I don't think there's any standout player. 2 wide players, very, very good. So, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give it to the goal scorer, the match winner, Erling Haaland.
And that was our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.